Good morning. We're back on a Monday morning at the Weekly Whistle, week number 11. I'm with my partner in crime here, Lisa. What's happening?
Hey. Oh, I can't believe this is, first of all, very exciting. Episode number 11, because we had a bang of a weekend and I can't wait to get into it. Vinny, what is going on? First of all, you had a great graduation, right? Your daughter. All right, kudos to you.
Daughter had our graduation party at the house. So it was a bunch of lacrosse players having a good time. No fatalities, no arrests, no fights. So it was good. Thank God.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But what's even more cool, Vin, right, is that her graduation party happened to be on the same night as the Knicks took the championship. Are you kidding me?
It was crazy. So we didn't realize that was
what did you do?
We didn't realize that was taking place until like this week, and we're like, oh crap! Now what do we do? So we grabbed we bought a projector screen for the backyard. And everybody would just stood around. So the party started at 4. People didn't leave till 8 o'clock. Thank God, midnight. Thank God I had, I rented some big giant bathroom for these kids. And we had a great time. We watched it on a 10-foot screen.
Can't beat it.
53 years we were waiting. It's incredible. We got any video on this? We got to have something, right? Amanda, show us something. Oh, awesome.
It's over. It's over. Knick fans, this is not a dream. Your long, long wait has ended. Go ahead and cry. After 53 years, the Knicks are finally NBA champions once again. Brunson allow him to operate at the top, 101. Brunson gets it, fires up a 3. Shot no good, the chip, it's gone! It's gone! It's gone! With 1.2 remaining, Knicks take the lead. OG Anunoby, and it's 107-106. Bedlam here at the Garden. They can't believe it. They're now out of timeouts. What do you look for with San Antonio? Well, listen, with Victor Wembanyama, obviously the rim.
That was game 3.
Yep.
That was my favorite. I mean, even the coach said that was an iconic shot.
Yep.
I'm so happy we had that particular clip because Anunoby's tipping. Forget it.
Never mind that. They would, so every game they won, they were down by double digits. But that game, they were down by 29 points. It was just incredible. And I think the Spurs at halftime had like
comeback.
They had like 74 points. They were on track to score like 150 points. It was crazy. And they just slowly ate away. And
I love how Jaden Brunson said afterwards that it was like for the entire championship, every game, he's like, it seems like we kind of got to, the game would start at 8:30, but we didn't really show up till about 9 o'clock. Things would start picking up after that. I said, because it's the Knicks, and they just go. That's how New York is. We get there when we get there, but we get there.
My God, such a great time for New York. He scored 45 points the last game, MVP, unstoppable. His dad is an assistant coach. That must have been like an incredible thing. And you know what? It's just to wait 53 years. It's just like incredible. And they had a lot of issues. Look, this guy Wemby on the other team, he's going to be the face of the NBA. But you know what? He's 22. He should have been suspended. I mean, he's a dirty player, and he's a cocky kid. So he should have been suspended after all these flagrant fouls that he didn't get. I mean, there was some stuff that he did that was just not cool. And, kind of a little bit of a sore loser. But you know what? This is what happens when you play against an experienced team. Look, that team is going to be, the Spurs is going to be a dominant team moving forward for years to come. I mean, the average age is like 24. So they're there now, and they got time to grow. And that kid is a fantastic player, Wemby. He's just got to just grow up a little bit and play the game correctly and realize this is a team game. It's not all about him. So
absolutely. And talk
that's
about
my
a team
thought.
game. We're talking 3 of the players on the Knicks, right? Jalen Brunson and 2 others. They all went to Villanova together, and they also won over there as well. And that that carries through again when they're playing together now. When you know your teammates that well, it's phenomenal. And you're right about Wemby. He's from Europe, and they often have a reputation for playing a little bit dirty. So you saw it. Yeah. We all saw it. The flagrant fouls were ridiculous. But you know what? The Knicks shone through anyway, and good sportsmanship. It just came out, and they took it in the most amazing way, breaking records while they did it. So it wasn't just like a win after 53 years. It was like a win on top of multiple historic records.
Yeah. And, the thing that gets me is that, especially with Wemby, he's from France. He's not even acknowledging, our anthem. He puts his hands to his sides, doesn't pay attention. I'm like, look, kid, you're 22. You're a star of the NBA. You're making all this money. You're going to make God knows how much money in your career. You should be kissing this country's ass up and down. You should say, this is the greatest country ever. And the fact that he's just not paying attention to that bothers me. Not even as an American. It bothers me the fact that, hey, listen, this country has given you all this. Just go ahead and just appreciate it as a person, not as a Frenchman or an American. Just, man, it's because of this country you're making this. So just for the love of God, just go ahead and just appreciate it and stand there. You could sit in your head and be like, all right, this is nonsense or whatever. But man, just play the game.
Exactly.
That's
what about appreciating it. We have one short clip here, another clip, Amanda, to show appreciation.
What to do? I got 5 boys. I don't know what. I ain't got nothing to tell them no more. You can't walk away no more.
Rest in peace, Trayvon Martin.
That.
Not that one. There's another clip on the Knicks. It might be mislabeled. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's all right.
But it was awesome to watch the singing taking place, everyone joining together and singing after the Knicks won. And then also all of the different neighborhoods across the boroughs, they were out there in like the best fashion all together. No problems. We didn't have any issues that we heard from NYPD or anything, significant, especially on that celebratory night. And I think that that's really terrific. I love it.
Yeah, it was great. Unfortunately, it did come with some property damage and 63 arrests throughout the 5 boroughs. But
were they last night then, or were they during the other games? Were they on Saturday night? That's what I'm saying.
I think it was late Saturday night.
Yeah. Okay.
But the way I look at that is how many thousands and thousands of people were out there, and
millions
we had
in New York. Exactly.
So if there was 5 dozen arrests, they're the imbeciles.
That's usually a normal day in New York City anyhow. So I'm not quite sure, unfortunately. But for this particular, you know what I'm saying, event with so many people jam-packed all across the boroughs, and it was playing it on the skyscrapers, and it was. And they really, overall, it was just a lot of love out there. So kudos to New Yorkers for setting the standard.
We had parents and lacrosse players just jumping up and down in my backyard like we were all kids again. We sat back.
I know.
All these D1 and D2 lacrosse players were losing their mind. They're so into the athletics.
Absolutely.
And one of my friends was like, how many people here were alive when they won last time 53 years ago? And there was maybe like a half a dozen of us. I'm like, oh crap, that was us. I was 3. I was 4.
Oh my gosh. So, I was a lot younger than that. Lot younger.
Oh, God, it was good. It was time for them to win, and good for the teams. So, all right. And that's pretty much about it, I guess, on the Knicks. I'm sure. I'm sure we'll move forward. And you know what? They're gonna have a great team moving forward, and I have a feeling they'll be in the playoffs for a few more years.
Looking forward to, as the owner of the team said, this is just the start. So I really hope they do, and they continue to build a dynasty of wins. Good for them. Yeah. Good for them. Because they're good players, they're fair players, they weren't dirty. Yeah. Good for them.
And they're gentlemen. So that's all I care about. All right. Big stuff on this one, Lisa. I know I'm the law enforcement person, you're the educator, but I'm going to hit you with this first to get your take. the trial of Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
Done, convicted, 35 years. Talk to me. You want to see a photo? You want to see a video first? You want to watch that one video of the outcome?
Yeah, let's
talk about it?
let's do the video with the outcome.
Numerous witnesses said Anthony instigated the confrontation, the prosecution calling his actions unjustified and intentional, telling the jury, you don't get to meet a shove with a stab, especially if you provoke the shove. In closing arguments Tuesday, the defense again tried to portray Metcalf as the aggressor, that he made physical contact first, and Anthony defended himself in a split second of chaos. What was it like?
What was it like?
When the verdict was read.
I feel like it was designed to protect white people, the system, and it was not designed to protect black people. It's self-defense.
Oh my God. What's your thought?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's back up and really examine, right, from an outside lens. This is a young man who is 17 years old and goes to a track meet with a knife.
Right.
Already, you're starting on the wrong foot.
Right.
Okay. Right. Gets there. Apparently it started raining or what have you, and he went into a nearby tent. But there was, I guess, some for whatever reason, it created an awkward situation. And then he was asked to leave the tent. And not once or twice, like every witness said it was like upwards of, you don't belong here. Can you please not from a different school? And, he was asked multiple times. And then it got to the point where they were like, and maybe he was acting weird, right? I would love to hear more about what his character was in that tent at that moment, that all of these boys kind of began to feel uncomfortable around him. And so he kept refusing to leave. Walk away from a bad situation. Mistake number 2. Okay. And then, so you're coming somewhere with a knife, which means your behavior might already be suspicious. Number 2, you go into a tent where you don't belong with a completely different school, not into your own school's tent. That's okay. Right. And then you're asked to leave multiple times and you don't. So mistake number 2. And then of course, the most horrible of all the mistakes is when he is then have almost not really forcefully, but like a shove, like you need to go, you need to get out of here. And then he decides to pull that knife out and murder, stab in the heart, another 17-year-old runner, which was, Austin Metcalf. And so this kid wasn't even playing a sport. I don't know what he was doing there. There was also some other discussion about whether or not he was suspended from school at the time that it took place, but we won't stick with that. I'm just speaking to other things of his character that we're not even aware of, that weren't even brought up during the hearing. Right. So after this happens, this is what's crazy, Vin. They immediately turn it to race baiting.
Of course. And
then they set up a GoFundMe, the parents, and hire this particular person. Amanda, can you put the picture up, please, of Dominique Alexander? Okay. Carmelo's parents hire a convicted felon,
of course,
as the family spokesperson. What? Right. So this is mind blowing. All right. Listen to the background of this Dominique gentleman. All right. Dominique Alexander, he calls himself a minister of justice, goes in, and he is a convicted felon who had beat one of his girlfriends. However, that wasn't the crime he served for. Get ready for this. He gets another girlfriend who has a 2-year-old son. And while she's out of the house for whatever, maybe they had a fight, whatever the case might have been, she wasn't in the apartment at the time. He violently shakes the 2-year-old child so violently that the child is left with brain damage. Ugh. And that is the one he's convicted on and goes to prison for. Gets out of prison and is suddenly the minister of justice. And this is the fit. Do you do any background research at all, Mr. and Mrs. Carmelo? Mr. and Mrs. Anthony? I'm very confused at this point. That they hire this man who then begins the race baiting. They're wearing the shirts, #believe. They got to GoFundMe. They're moving into a $9,000 a month rental in a gated community. Yeah. It just spiraled so quickly with lunacy that. And they made it all about, theater instead of about the death of a young man, a 17-year-old. And the fact that the 17-year-old who murdered him will now lose his life essentially too.
Yeah. And he died in his twin brother's arms.
In his twin brother's arms.
Yeah. So before I comment, let's throw on the judge video, and then I'll give I'll blast off, I guess, after we're done with the judge video.
I think it started off bad, and it started off bad with the doxing and the swatting of the judge and the parties, the witnesses, and all that stuff. So I think it started off bad, and I'm going to attribute that to social media. And I think social media got it wrong, and it is what it is. I think that's something we have to live with these days. But I think it's my responsibility and other judges' responsibility to make sure, no matter what's going on in social media, that someone can walk in a courthouse and get a fair trial.
Did it make it very different when you realized a lot of your witnesses are young witnesses?
No, look, I've been doing this for 20 years. A lot of the witnesses come in all shapes and sizes and colors and all that. And so that was normal for me. What wasn't normal for me is to have those witnesses be intimidated by things being said on social media, because those young people rely on social media more than I certainly do. And so that sure impacted me, to make sure that they did not change their testimony. They were willing to come in and tell the truth without fear of being doxxed or swatted and stuff. And so I took every precaution that I could, consistent with the law, to make that happen.
I know Steve brought it up to you, and I know both sides probably brought it up as well. The AI images of people claiming to be inside this courtroom.
Yeah, that ticked me off a little bit, because if you're going to call yourself the press, and people are going to depend on you to tell them what's going on in this courtroom, you should be telling the truth. And so Mr. Stoller, our public information officer, brought it to my attention that some news outlets were posting photos saying from inside the courtroom. And it wasn't my courtroom, it wasn't the witness, it wasn't their testimony. And that's tragic, because, again, that just breeds the narrative that these people want to cultivate in our community to drive a wedge between us. And I think that's terrible.
Yeah. So I got notes all over the place on this, but let's just take this for what it was. Number one, you do not sit in a visitor's tent. You just don't. You're asking for problems. You're provoking it right off the bat. If anybody played any high school sports listening in, you just don't do it. Number two, he was asked 15 times to leave. Multiple witnesses testified to that. 15 times. Okay. 3, when he got his hand, when Metcalf put his hands on him, they said it was a light to a moderate shove to push him off. Okay. That doesn't respond. You don't respond with a deadly weapon. Okay. It was a violent stabbing. Okay. And I'm so tired of the misinformation, the violence, the intimidation, the peaceful protesting that's never peaceful. If the average black person has watched this video, has watched this trial and paid attention to it, if you still think that this kid is innocent, then we have a major problem in this country. This is so clear cut. And these people are wearing shirts that say, believe. He did not even take the stand. So what the hell are you even believing in? He kept his mouth shut the whole entire time. Okay, it's just insane. And then you have somebody like Jasmine Crockett, who puts me over the edge, race baiting back and forth, calling this knife a tool, and she's heartbroken for him. And she says that that size of that knife doesn't mean it's a deadly weapon. Are you out of your mind? This paper clip, if I kill you with this, it's now considered a deadly weapon. Okay, this is what happens. There's not a category of deadly weapons. It's how you use something to kill somebody. It's crazy. I don't get it. You know, we elect these people. She's on there. She's calling it a tool. She's not even calling it a knife. And then she turns and says, well, if someone was beating me down, I have a right to defend myself. Nobody was getting beat down. That is crazy. And the uneducated person or the race baiter is watching this, and they're fueling them, you know, to have these race wars in this country. So you know what? Here's my take. How about this? We'll put all this crap to end, and we say, if you commit a violent felony against another race, it's automatically a hate crime, and you're automatically going to jail for 5 years, no matter what happens. You'll see all this crap. You'll see every single Democrat throw their hands up in the air and say how that's not fair, how that's just nonsense and everything else. But you know what? That's the only way you're going to get away from, you know, the black community always crying the victim. This is such a clear-cut case. I don't understand how people are saying you got to believe him. This is ridiculous. The parents got a $500,000 house, a $900,000 house. They got a car. All this nonsense. It was just crazy how they even conceive that this person should not be going to jail. And let me say something else. And this goes away. This goes in line with. Look at the girl Irina. How do you pronounce it? Zaruski, the female, the blonde who was stabbed, just minding her own business on the train. Okay. That guy, Brown, he yells out, I got a white girl. Okay. Nothing was said about that. Is that not specifically targeting a race? His brother, okay, is in jail. Okay. His sister is awaiting trial. His brother killed somebody, and the sister has got multiple burglaries and felonies. She was on the hit and run. All this nonsense. So where does this all end? You have somebody, you know, last year saying, "I got a white girl," stabs her, and nothing is said. How is that not a hate crime? This is driving me crazy as a law enforcement officer. I'm so tired of people saying, oh, you know, it's the minority communities, it's police brutality. No, if that community is committing most of the crimes, then damn it, you're going to have most of the cops there. When you have the most calls there, then situations are going to take place. You know, again, we spoke about that case last week with in Minnesota. The arresting officer was a black person, you know, with George Floyd. Nobody brought that up. How about that? This is all insane. This stuff puts me over the edge as a law enforcement officer, and to see, you know, all this race baiting and everything else from our left wing, you know, congressmen and senators and stuff like that. And right. They know there's no possible way that somebody like Chuck Schumer could say, hey, you know what? This kid killed somebody. He deserves to go to jail. Nobody wants, on the Democratic side, I said, hey, listen, take the race out of this. A kid stabbed another kid. That's it. He's got to go. Why can't we just live that way instead of bringing all this race crap into it? It drives people crazy. I'm just tired of all the nonsense, the peaceful protesting, the I believes, all this nonsense. It's nothing peaceful. I mean, you're trying to prove a point that it's against the white, you know, it's against the black person. And then the other thing, and just real quick, is with the jury, there was no minority or no African Americans on the jury, no black people on the jury. Well, you know, the defense attorney has an opportunity to say, hey, I don't like this person. So, but they're not saying there was 3 or 4 minorities. I think there was a couple of Puerto Rican people on the, you know, I think it wasn't just, you know,
Asian, yeah,
there was other people on there. But that jury's picked prior with both of them. So I don't understand it. It drives me nuts as, you know, as a former law enforcement officer, because I've been on these calls where people just start screaming race and everything else. And, you know, I had a kid, you know, when I was a Fed, I can't even recall what why we were there. We had locked up a couple people. I had this 15-year-old be like, this is another Rodney King. What, Rodney King? What the hell are you talking about? You weren't even alive for Rodney King. That's it. No one's getting beat up here. Like, what are you even talking about? This is discrimination. No, it's not. Somebody here committed a crime. Keep quiet. Be off to the side. Knock it off. It's just it's mind blowing. It's disgusting, and I hope to God we can just come to a nation, take the race out of it. But if you don't want to take the race out of it, then you put a stipulation. Hey, if it's a felony against another race, then you should go to jail. That should be your main charge, and let's see how the chips fall.
Yeah, well, I could tell you they're not going to fall in that favor. That's for sure. And when you take a step back and you look at what you're saying, Vin, so passionately. What we have here, right, coming from a law enforcement angle and seeing all the things you've seen over 2 decades, you and myself as well, I will definitely say, being an educator in the boroughs of New York City, largest student population and the most mixed demographic in the country, I will tell you that it really doesn't start with the kids. I'm on 7 through 12 when I was back in the classroom. So it wasn't like I was just with the young ones who, you know, with too little to understand race. I was with the 7th through 12th graders. And let me tell you something, race wasn't an issue really even amongst them. It has escalated so much with the media. It's exactly what Judge Roach said in that clip, that this social media and the AI and the news coverage pushing this narrative. You heard it right out of the judge's mouth, guys. This is what we're dealing with, and it is influencing people who are uneducated. And on that note, I think that we should bring up, and why would they want to create discourse and you know, a sense of unfriendliness and ambivalence amongst people is because it helps them to make money and it helps them to get whoever they want in. Once you rile up a person's emotions, right? Let's bring in this next clip from a podcaster called Jason Whitlock.
Everybody who testified was lying, and all their statements were inconsistent. Their statements were very consistent, and then you have to explain to me what's their motive for lying. Why lie? What's the motive? The black witnesses, the black kids that all went on the stand and told a pretty consistent story amongst the group. What's their motive? And so, do we have the Mimi Brown? Yeah, let's play the Mimi Brown. Oh, no, we don't. Okay, we don't have it yet. But let me know when we have the Mimi Brown. But I just, there's an echo chamber of delusion that many black people live in, and it's controlled by social media. And this is the danger of social media. They create these echo chambers where you can have all of your delusional thoughts confirmed. You can say, my child didn't do anything wrong. He didn't want to harm anybody. He didn't want to kill Austin Metcalf. Your son brought a knife to a high school track meet and then told a kid in front of other people, if you touch me, you'll find out, or something to that degree. But he was defending himself from a verbal attack, from someone pushing him. The proper defense is I get to plunge a knife into your heart. This is a state of delusion that these people are existing in.
Yeah. He's spot on.
Right.
He's spot on. I always say, probably once a show, social media is the ruination of the world. It's insane. And this is what happened. They're educating the dumb. The mainstream media is doing the same. And these left-wing politicians are doing the same exact thing. It's just absolutely It's horrible.
And K through 12, I'll tell you now, Whistlers, listen up. I'm sure you already know it, but there is no more pen and paper in the classroom. There are no more textbooks in the classroom. These have all been replaced by these devices, everyone, okay? By these devices. And what we have here is a youth, a whole entire generation growing up reliant on what is the computer telling me. Okay. I have young, great nieces and nephews who they're like, oh, I don't have to spell that. Spell check does it for me. We are going further and further away from intellectual growth. Thanks to Bill Gates, Microsoft, and having, these computers in every single classroom, and whatever deal school districts made so that they can, and then it goes into the social media that they're finding on there and that they're relying on for their information. And then you get people like the Camello family and these women who say, this is against the Black people. This is a white run. Where are you getting your information from? Are you kidding me? We just watched the Knicks Championship. Tell me if I'm wrong, but the majority of the team was Black. They're doing pretty well financially and graduated from Villanova. They're doing well intellectually as well. Where are you? And, enough is enough. And I'll say that too on all, all the races, all the ethnicities going on in America. I think the education has dropped. And I think that as a result, like you said, the politicians, like Whitlock says, the social media, like the judge said, the AI, all of it coming together will be the ruination. You're right. This had nothing to do with race.
And you want to prove your point? Have your teenage kids sign their name or write 2 or 3 lines. It looks like chicken scratch. It looks like they're writing it with their feet. Yeah. It's absolutely pathetic. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, all right. I guess
scary stuff.
I know. The whole thing sucks. And, you'll see more of this moving forward. You see more protesting, more people speaking because they're going to appeal it because there was no Black people on the trial and all this nonsense. But, I'm sure we'll be covering it, in the future again.
Yeah.
So anyway, hey, this next one, I'll let you.
Vin. You're fresh if you're going to throw this one my way, Vin. I can't.
I'll tell you what, you could throw it. You could start this one off. And
of course. You put this one in my lap. Oh my gosh. All right. Here's from our county here, CPD. Yeah. Let's see
watch this video.
Let's see this.
Suffolk man says Suffolk police officers used excessive force during a traffic stop. Now he's planning to sue. And there is dash cam video of the incident. We want to warn you, it's graphic. News 12's Daniela Rodriguez has the story.
It started with a left turn in Medford on April 2nd. Dashcam video shows Craig Manning in the straight lane on North Ocean Avenue. He says he then moved into the turning lane. Seconds later, Manning's attorney says this unmarked police car pulled him over. At first, Manning interacts with officers. He then refuses to hand over his license and registration, and he demands a supervisor. Officers tell him to get out of the car. He does not, but he unlocks the door. Manning was punched in the head several times and was hit again and pulled to the ground after more officers arrived on scene.
Vin, not a good light.
No. So let's try and rule race out of this since we just got, we just went off on that thing.
Right.
Looked like he had tinted windows in the back and on the sides. So if he's following him from behind, he can't really tell. As a former law enforcement officer, you see a traffic violation, you put your lights on, you pull him over. Contrary to what everybody thinks, you don't have the right, or the police department is not required to bring a sergeant to the scene. That officer is there. He's in charge of that scene. He's there to make the decision. A lot of times they do it because, they don't want to get things out of hand. They want to have maybe something questionable, and they bring a sergeant over, or just to make a decision on what to take place. With that being said, 26 years in law enforcement, and I've never had to punch anybody. So that would not have been my first thought to do, or my second thought. I probably would have used a like a non-lethal. I probably would have used pepper spray, something to that effect. I probably would have did that. And then I would have called for a sergeant to say, hey, listen, I have someone who's refusing, not on the person's request. On my request, I'd bring a sergeant, hey, I need an additional unit. Guy may have been big. But you know what? Even small people, I have had problems with small people who were just squirrely and took three, 4 people to take them down. So this guy looked like he wasn't small, and to get somebody out of the car physically is the most difficult thing you could possibly do. I remember somebody just went like this with their steering wheel, and literally, we were like, oh my God, like we had to pull him out of the car, but it took every single strength of everybody who was there. We had people in the back, we had people on the side. It was insane.
Wow.
So not a good look. I don't know what was going through that officer's head when that was taking place. Maybe he saw something. I always say let the investigation come out. Like just from a view from up top, I would have took it a different route. Maybe there was something that he saw that could have been deemed as a weapon on the bottom, somewhere on the floor and then by the glove box or something. In that case, I would have said, hey, listen, keep your hands on the wheel, at all times. And, you have to put that out there. So if they do, in fact, move their hands, you gave them that direct order. I don't know how. I'm sure he's going to settle.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you're laying it out absolutely right as far as proper protocol is concerned. And, we had, retired officer Mike Simonelli on our show not too long ago. He wrote the book, Justified Deadly Force and the Myth of Systemic Racism. And in his book, he really outlines very, very well all of those cases in which racism really didn't play a role. And it was more the media that focused on that. And again, is it race at this point right now, or is it just an officer who, possibly did not act with the best of protocol? And I agree. Like this man said, send your supervisor here. Listen, call the supervisor in if there's no imminent danger at this point. I'm not quite sure. We know that Lou Civillo, the head of the PBA, he did post something regarding the incident, just simply saying that you are required to show your license and registration at a traffic stop. And that traffic stops are one of the most deadly, believe it or not, for police officers. It's agreed that the traffic officers do have a high intensity situation all the time because they don't know what they're approaching. And so it has multiple variables playing here. But from what I saw in the video, it didn't really seem like the driver made an illegal left turn. He waited for cars to pass, got into the left lane, seemed to make the turn. The fact that he did not cooperate with law enforcement is the problem. You look like you're an educated man. You seem to wait the turn. You didn't seem like you were a person who was violent, but you still made a major, major mistake in the fact that the officers came to the door and asked you for your license or registration. You wouldn't give it. Then they ask you to get out of the car. You won't do it. You're building yourself up for a problem. How it got handled, we can all agree. I would have, like you said, tried a different method. However, this is what went down, and that's what's going to be focused on more than the fact that this man did not refuse to law enforcement, which is where it should be. That's where the story should be. But
to where whenever we bring up one of these cases, it's about someone getting hurt or killed, and it's always because they defied the police officer's orders in the very beginning.
Correct.
And I say this all the time. If you just listen to the police, you know how many times I pulled people over as a cop and I never gave them a ticket? If you were a jerk, you'd get a ticket if you did the violation. But if you were nice, I'd be like, all right, have a nice day. Just be careful.
Yes, absolutely.
And on the same time, I remember pulling somebody over and I ran his license and I got an alert tone and they said, basically in code, it said, hey, step away from the vehicle. And this guy was just a normal looking guy. And he came back with a possible warrant for a homicide of a police officer in Atlanta.
Whoa.
And I was like, in my head, I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay. I walked up to the front. I said, sir, just hold on 1 second. I'll be with you in 1 second. Here's your stuff back. And everybody started coming. I mean, en route. 5 minutes there. I had 13 cop cars behind me. The guy's looking at me like, what's going on? I'm like, sir, we have a problem with our computer system. Like, I'm just kind of stalling. And then it came back. It was clear. He was fine. Hey, thank you very much. Have a good day. That's the way you handle it. That's the way. But I remember my heart just falling to the floor going, oh my God, this guy killed a cop, Look, they're going to spin this on a race thing again. I already know it. We all know it. Every law enforcement officer knows it, black, white, Chinese, whatever. You all know it's going to get spun into that. And That's the unfortunate part.
Right.
If everybody would just listen to the police, or
and we know, like
of
you
this
said,
nonsense would go
how
away.
the Democrats, they love
Yep.
to spin the identity politics and the race baiting and the cultural affirmation, blah blah blah, all day long. It's been their winning ticket, unfortunately, in New York, which is so shocking because many of the people, living, residing, and voting as New Yorkers do tend to be people, with some background of education and decent, workforce, but they lean into these Democrats who feed a very dangerous narrative. And this incident right before the November midterms, they are going to run with it, everyone. Yep. So try to do your best to block out the noise and deal with the facts.
Right. Take the race out of this. It was, it was a traffic stop, which was most likely lawful. But he didn't want to comply, and sometimes things happen. And I'm not condoning it. I'm not condoning it in any way.
Right.
Just for the love of God, if he just would have gave him his license, he probably just would have walked away without a ticket.
And even though it seemed, like I said, from what we're seeing, right, it looked like he waited to make the left turn, put his blinker on, got over into the lane and made the left turn. But what we can't see is, did the turning signal turn red already?
Yeah, you don't
and
know.
did he make it on a red light? Like people catch that tail end, right? But who knows if that was the situation.
You know what? But,
a lot of things to play, but I thought, he looked like he just made a left turn with, but I didn't see the light. I don't know. So we'll see. We'll get all the details.
The traffic infraction is irrelevant. He could have been speeding. He could have went through a stop sign, whatever it is. Just hand over the damn license.
Really.
Just stop watching these videos of these hack lawyers saying, you don't have to do this. Yes, you do.
Right.
If you commit a traffic infraction, you have to hand over your license. That's it.
Right.
God dang it, man.
I know.
All right. Enough of that.
All right, we're past it. Okay. All right, Whistlers. Vin and I have been bringing you a lot of information in small snippets because this is hard to absorb, right? Because it's all about the future. And we've brought you some stuff on AI and we've brought you some stuff on who the players are in this game of artificial intelligence and the movement forward. Okay. This video, just take a second. Get ready to absorb, Whistlers. Here we go. Amanda, can you play the Ford video?
No. Now imagine there was an emergency outside the truck, an accident, something terrible on the ranch with a chainsaw. And I jump in this truck, but the truck, it won't shift into drive. Why? Because the cameras and sensors inside this cab won't let it shift because it detects my eyes are big. There's a lot of emotion. There's some panic and it doesn't feel that I'm fit to drive. Now that's not science fiction. That is happening because Ford just filed the patents. Ford actually has a series of patents down at the U.S. Patent and Trade Office that deal with the sensors and cameras inside the cab of their truck. And if the sensors in that truck determine that you're not fit to drive, that truck will not actually shift from park to drive. Now, they already have a system called telematics, and that's where they can actually pull up cameras in real time inside the cab of their fleet vehicles. Now, they actually market this to insurance companies because the truth is, this is really about who owns the data and who owns the liability. Now, your name might actually be on the title of this truck, and you may have paid for it, but you don't own it. Now, Ford didn't file just one patent. They filed a stack of them, all within months of each other.
Wow.
Crazy.
All right. So let me help our Whistlers understand the way I had to. Okay. There we go. Ford's latest patent lets your truck scan your face and your lips and one day could testify against you.
Yeah.
This is insanity.
Yeah.
So I have family who's in law and I sat down and said, what's going on here? And sure enough, it is something called click wrap. I want everyone to know this term, click wrap. And basically what it is that anytime you purchase something, remember we always have that Do you agree? You know, you got to go through, even then when we go to the doctor's office now, like you're signing in online. Do you agree? Do you agree? Yeah. Because you want to get to the next page. You want to get it done. You want to get on with your appointment, or you want to be able to work your product. You know, you have a deadline at work. Oh, you want this software. Oh, I got to download this software. But do you agree? I agree. I agree. Every time you do that, because you can't use the software otherwise, every time you buy an iPhone, Android, whatever it is, you have to agree. And when you do, that's called click wrap. And it's a prompt, and it makes sure that you agree with the policies of the company that created the software. And now we know that software is inside our vehicles. And so that's what he means when he said, you can have your name on the title. You will put the money down to buy this, but will you actually own it? No, because you have signed click wrap, and the software now inside the vehicles of the future is what is going to control all of the functions of the car. So if you do not agree to properly use their software and allow them to take your retina, allow them to read your lips, allow them to keep your biometrics, remember that term, biometric profiling, then you will not be allowed to use their car. So do you actually own it? No. Just like Klaus Schwab, the book, The Great Reset, in which this is the World Economic Forum, all the billionaires of the world who come to these forums, Klaus Schwab has said, you will own nothing and be happy. Right. People, I'm sure you know that is false. And so Ford coming out with this type of vehicle, then, holy cow.
Yeah.
It's
not even Ford.
Biometric slavery is insane. It's bananas, man.
It's bananas. And I don't have a banana today. So all my bananas were eaten at the party. But it's not, I mean, Ford is getting the patent on this, but every U.S. car company has to have this in place within 2 years. That it's going to be, it was included, I'm going to read this. It was included in the fine print of a $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill, which was signed into law on November 15, 2021. And it's just that Ford is trying to make a fortune off it. But there's also a self-repossession patent from 2023 that says if you make and that's federal mandated also, that if your truck could be disabled and actually be able to drive away if you miss payments. So that's what else they're working on. It's like autonomous capability. It is crazy. And going back to that, suppose I'm driving. Suppose I have to go to the hospital, right? And, suppose I was crying and my eyes are bloodshot and I have to go to the hospital. Suppose I just got into a fight and my eye is black, and that's, suppose, a
woman fleeing domestic abuse.
Yeah. Suppose you never drive my car before. You never drove my car. And I'm like, oh my God, Lisa, take me to the hospital. And it's not going to recognize you. I mean, it's not going to because you're driving erratically now, this is going to be a problem, or I'm driving erratic. I'm not a fan of this. This is just another algorithm to sell information, just like the TVs. All of a sudden, giant screen TVs went down 70% price. Why? Because Samsung and everybody else started selling their information on what you were watching. And that's basically what happened. But, that 2021 Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act requires all new cars sold after September 2027 to include technology that monitors whether you're impaired or distracted and will prevent you from driving. That's insane.
Passed under the Biden administration, correct?
Right. Yeah.
And the 2023 one as well. You said, right? There was another one in 2023. Yeah. So they even dug in deeper again under the Biden administration. This is, I hope we can make a plea to the Trump administration to reverse this. But the data mining, the biometric profiling, this is where we have the issue. It's been done in China. It is being done in other countries. And we know that China leads the chart on it. They have cameras reportedly on many of their street corners and other, locations in which they scan faces, and they can then determine if you're a person who hasn't paid your bills that month, if you're a person who's like they did with COVID, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you want to talk about Orwellian 1984, people pick up the book, just give it a quick read. It's not that long. This is fiction becoming nonfiction at this point.
Yeah.
Terrifying. Biometric enslavement.
Yeah. It's the future, and we can't control it because it's these big bureaucrats and these congressmen and everything else that this is a great idea. And somewhere along the way, someone's getting paid for all this.
Right.
And you know what? Buy stock in Ford. You know what? I can't. You can't blame them for trying to capitalize on stupidity. So that's what that's what they're doing.
But what I'd like to know is where's the way out? Like on one of our episodes, I think it might have been episode 8 or so, we had a clip of a gentleman who was an ethics in AI, and he spoke about how there needs to be better oversight, right? This is one of those areas. You cannot say it's okay to invade our privacy, because I'm pretty sure the Constitution of America protects our privacy to that extent, where, well, okay then, and I love what they say, because I had this exchange with a retailer for an iPhone a few years back. And I said, well, I don't want this and this on the device. And he said, well, then you can't buy this iPhone. And I said, but I need it because I want to be able to FaceTime with my kids who are at college or what have you. And he said, well, you can't not take the hardware, the phone itself, and the other things that come with the phone without taking this portion of it. And I'm like, wow, that was before I knew the term click wrap. We're going a few years back. That's how I came into that terminology and began to understand more about it. You are not. So what are we supposed to do in a world where everyone needs these devices to communicate now? This is what we do to work. This is what we do to survive. This is what they're giving these kids for education, which we have to reverse that. Mississippi, hopefully we'll have a show on them, and kudos to Mississippi for reversing some of this. But basically, we can't function in society without the devices. But the devices have policies in there that we have to agree to for them to invade our privacy. Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
It's crazy. I'm sure we'll talk about this in the future also. This is definitely not going away. I just like to know one thing. Is there a way to shut this off? If there's a way to shut this off, then I'm like, whatever. But if there's no way of shutting it off, I'm not down with it. All right.
Without the option.
Got a few minutes left. We got one more video to show. Amanda, could you roll it, please?
Hitting the U.S. in a bbig way, apparently. The Europeans that have come over are just obsessed with our American culture. Have you been watching this? Take a look at this. This fan shared his first 1 a.m. Waffle House experience, rating it a 10 out of 10. We'll be coming back. Another fan discovering big gulps, writing, not gonna lie, big gulps from 7-Eleven are easily one of my favorite things I've discovered in America so far. Yes, sir, they are. And in New England, look at that. Scottish fans serenading their neighborhood hosts with some very early morning bagpipes. I believe that was 6:30 in the morning. I don't know if neighbors liked that or loved it. Fox News contributor Joe
Oh, well.
So cute and so wonderful.
Yep.
I love that the Europeans are coming here for the World Cup and falling in love with America.
That's great. And let's be honest, you can't get a big gulp there because it's probably illegal because all the harm it does to your body. But you know what? I mean, listen, we thinking about America, innovation, science, cultural influence, individual rights, religious freedoms, most general nation on earth. Medical care is the best. We have economic dominance. What is really not to love about this land of opportunity? We got these kinks going on right now with the police and the racial nonsense, and we could just work that out a little bit. This truly is, the greatest place to live in the world. So they have our restrictions, and let's be honest. You go to the Waffle House, anything that tastes like really good is usually bad for you. And we have that all over the place. You know, you can go in and order 17 Whoppers and eat 16 of them and eat the other 2 the next day. You know?
It's all good.
So it's all good.
It's funny to see how they're like surprised at our rail systems and how they have comments regarding the way in which they were misled by social media. So I'm really happy to see that. So, you know, it was true. Like when I visited the British Isles, you see all these terrible things regarding, you know, all the uprisings in various areas. But when you get there, it's not really so much that at all. And that's a wonderful thing to see, that there's a lot more harmony. And that is a beautiful thing. And so for them to come here, and I can't even imagine what some of the European networks must say about America, but for them to come here and say the wonderful things. One in particular I really, really liked was a woman named Elsa. And she said, why did no one tell me that ranch is like crack, ranch sauce? She said, Europe, we need ranch ASAP. Right. And she loved Indiana, which I have to say too. Right. I was fortunate. One of my kids went to the University of Indiana, and it really was a beautiful area to visit, to see all the farms. And she reiterated that, saying that going through Indiana was exactly how she had imagined American, from her stories that she read, barns, farms, and American flags everywhere. And it's true. Awesome. There is a beautiful piece in the Midwest, and I'm happy that they got to enjoy that. Although Freddie from Germany, he was in Atlanta and loved Atlanta too. He's the one who went nuts for the Waffle House one. He was post, and he also described Taco Bell as the Holy Land.
Yeah. You know what all these things have in common? Probably hydrogenated oil, and canola oil, is the first ingredient in all these things. But
which I am shocked about, because you would think Europeans wouldn't, but that stuff kind of, I think it addicts our taste buds. But in Europe, they don't carry those products. I actually like, chicken nuggets, for example, back in Europe better than I like them in America. Sorry, Mickey D's, but
listen. And then I wonder if that guy even went to the Atlanta, whatchamacallit? What's the aquarium? The aquarium in Atlanta is the largest in the country. It's insane. I went there on a case. We stopped there. They have like whale sharks, and it is so wild. So there's a lot of positive things. All those things I just talked about is just, the tip of the iceberg with this country. We truly love it. I mean, I really do. It's the greatest place in the world to live. I just hope we just kind of get a couple things, just a couple things squared away.
Yeah. And you know what? I think we will. Listen, Flag Day was yesterday. God bless America. Got the flag behind me. And I just, you do too, with the blue line. But there is, also Trump's 80th birthday yesterday. Amazing event at the White House. He celebrated in such a unique manner, bringing the UFC cage fight there with Dana White, who has really stepped up in his, capacity to join with Mark Zuckerberg and about the social media stuff. So that's really wonderful to see that a strong, influential organization like the UFC would step up with social media issues. So those are the types of things that you wouldn't imagine a connection with this president or any administration, but he's making it happen. But I'm a big UFC fan, by the way, and I really, want to say that was a wild upset last night. But the American defeating, the Georgian, it was crazy.
Oh my God!
Both very, very talented men.
Everybody in this country should support their president, right or wrong, and they should just want this country to do better. And that's what we could do. So, anyway, Lisa, send us off. Send us off.
Okay. So listen, Whistlers, we're so happy to have you join us weekly. And we're looking for our subscribers to go up as Vin and I adjust more into our new routine with you. Like and subscribe, please, on Facebook and Rumble, Instagram. You can find us also on, I think TikTok, maybe X. I don't know. Amanda's keeping us moving and grooving and building all platforms as we go along. And we love your suggestions and your comments. So please bring them our way, because your thoughts matter to us, and we like to address whatever we can from both a law lens and an education lens. So,
yes, absolutely. All right, everybody. Have a good week. We'll catch up with you guys next week with a whole bunch of new stories and a whole bunch of takes.